Hi there, welcome to Shopcast number 10. This one is all about Magnum by Cascade. And before I get into the yarn, I have a very exciting announcement. All of you who've been waiting for the crocodile mitts, we have the patterns. They are back in stock, so come on by as soon as you can to grab them before we all sell out again. We did get a lot of them because they've been so popular, so if you have been waiting, and remember this is done in the awesome Australian Pear Tree yarns, the superfine Australian Merino. And we have lots of colors still available, so you can come by, pick those up, start knitting away. And if you wanted my special notes about how to do them without any seam, that can be found on Ravelry under Christa Giles in my project notes. Okay, Magnum. Magnum is huge. So if you're trying to do something big and bulky just for last minute holiday shopping, or because you're into the style right now of something like this, where you have the massive, the huge, the gigantic and oversized neck warmers, which are awesome, Magnum is one of the easiest yarns for you to use. Details. It is 250 grams, which winds up being 123 yards. It's not a whole lot, but one of them will give you a short cowl for sure. If you use really big needles and only like maybe 7 or 8 stitches, you get a very long scarf you could do around a couple times. You're probably looking at maybe 2 or 3 if you wanted a really big cowl. But so they recommend doing that on a size 15 US. I should double check. I think that's about a 12 millimeter. And all of that is for $24.95. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 12, 17 colors in stock right now. You can see them all in the back. We don't have cream, so some of you who've been waiting for cream, it's still back ordered from our supplier, so it's not going to be anytime soon, unfortunately. I'll probably either let you know here on the podcast or on Facebook and Twitter when we get that back in stock. But in the meantime, lots of gorgeous colors. Now, to continue our yarn education, Magnum is another yarn that's been single spun. So if you hate lint on your coat, this is not the yarn for you. So Magnum will totally shed. Unless you're knitting it super tight on really small needles, in which case it'll be cardboard. So either or, depending on what you're aiming for. But if you don't like shedding yarns, but you do want the bulky look, one thing you could try with this is after you knit it, is try tossing it in your dryer on fluff, just cool fluff, even when it's the finished garment or scarf or whatever is still dry. And that'll let your dryer take some of the fiber off the scarf, and it'll take it into your filter. So make sure you clean that out before it gets too stuffy. But otherwise, if you are looking for something that is knitting up to this tension, which is about 2 stitches per inch or 8 stitches over 4 inches, we could recommend holding some different yarns together. Now, the downside of holding yarns together when you're trying to get a particular weight is that they tend to be more densely spun, so there's less air, which means overall the whole thing will be heavier. For instance, if you're following a pattern that was made for Magnum, Magnum is fairly thick but still light and lofty, and you're trying to get that same weight in a more tightly spun yarn by holding multiple strands together, you'd wind up with a garment that really was kind of like a lead coat that you're wearing around. Not quite so lovely. So really, when you're choosing your project and your pattern, kind of also think about the structure of the yarn and its content in terms of fiber versus air, and how it's going to behave based on how large of a piece you're knitting. Lots to think about? Yeah. Okay, show and tell things we've made out of Magnum. We have a hat. This one is not quite big enough for my enormous head. You know, it would be okay. I don't have the information about that right now. I will add it to Facebook, but Jamie made this one last year out of this very electric violet purple that we have. And it wound up being really popular as soon as we had the sample out. What is it with you guys? Like, you're not brave enough to actually try and knit a sample, or a color, something that we have in the shop? Like 90% of you knit it in the same color that we did the sample in. Come on, like, be adventurous, branch out a little bit. If you ever need help picking a color, please come in when I'm on shift, because I love doing that. It's lots of fun. But so that's one. 2, you could also make this out of Magnum. If you look close, you can see that this is actually a whole bunch of plied yarns. This is 4 strands of Cascade EcoWool held together. You could probably get a similar feel out of 2 strands of Magnum held together. And this is called Cambie. This is one of my patterns again. And it is a giant triangle that was knit in a tube and then cut apart. So where there's currently fringe, this used to be 10 extra stitches, And I knit a big giant cone that was started out big and went down to the very point, and then unraveled 10 stitches on each side of my marker, cut them with scissors, unraveled, and then did some knotting to make the fringe. But just to give you an idea of how that can be worn, it can be looped around the front. If you like the fringe look, you can hang that out. And if you're not so much about the fringe, you can tuck it all underneath. And back and out of the way. Or if you don't like fringe at all, you can make triangles just by knitting and purling back. I tend to do a lot of things in tubes involving steeking or cutting because I don't like to purl so much. I'm a little bit lazy that way. So that's Cambie. And if you go on Ravelry and you search for things that are bulky, anything that's at 2 stitches per inch or 8 stitches over 4 inches, or search directly by going to Magnum and then look at the pattern suggestions or look at projects to see what other people have made, then you can get some ideas and come on into the shop and we'll help you pick out the right yarn. All right, last thing before I go, show and tell. Look, it's done. This is my Nan Knit Swaymo vest. It didn't turn into a sweater. It did stay just as a vest. I'm really happy with it. The one thing I will change when I block it next is my sleeves here are a little bit loose, but when I block it again, I'll just squinch those tighter while they're wet and let them dry in a smaller shape, and it'll be awesome. I'll have photos for this up on Facebook, probably also on my Ravelry page when I get around to it. And since this is shopcast number 10, it's a little bit of a celebration. I'd like you to give me a gift. Please leave me a comment somewhere, either on Facebook, on the YouTube channel, send it through Twitter, or come on into the store and tell me what you think about the podcast. Let me know if you like it, if you don't, what I can be doing better, what else you're interested in learning about. And that would be an awesome present for me. I have been hearing from some of you. I really do appreciate the feedback. So I know there's more of you watching. I'd love to hear from you. So come on by. I'm in the store here Mondays and Thursdays. We are open 7 days a week. You can find us online at threebagsfull.ca or on Facebook, threebagsfullcanada, on YouTube, threebagsfullcanada, on Twitter, 3BF. And that's all. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.